Hello and welcome to the Pole Position podcast with Jamie Davies and Jack Price. Now, this is the day after the Italian Grand Prix, and well, the Ferrari party was pooped yet again by Lewis Hamilton for the second year running as Mercedes win on Ferrari's turf, and Lewis Hamilton with the drive of his life, as some have been calling it, over the last few hours since reacting to his race win. It's now put him up to 30 points ahead of his title rival, Sebastian Vettel, as he's now, of course, with just a few races to go. Sebastian Vettel finishing fifth from the top of my head. I should know this. Fourth, sorry, apologies. I thought it was somebody else.
Verstappen had that penalty.
So Vettel, that's a bit of a bonus there for Vettel. So Vettel getting 12 points now and Max Verstappen finishing in fifth. So really, Kimi Raikkonen second, Valtteri Bottas third. Kimi Raikkonen was 9 laps away from his first race win since Australia 2013. But Lewis Hamilton, with quite an astonishing overtake, he deserved it at the end. He even got the fastest lap as well of the race. Jack Price, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. You?
I'm not bad, I'm not bad. It's been a while since we've last done the podcast. We say this at the start of each one, I think.
Yeah. This isn't as frequent as we would like, but
kids to sort out.
yeah.
How old are we? But Lewis Hamilton 30 points ahead now. In my eyes, not the result I was hoping for. I promise you guys, I'm not I am a little bit an anti-Lewis Hamilton fan, but it's more that I want a championship, I want it to all take place in Abu Dhabi in the final race, but it's just going one way all of a sudden again.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying because I wanted Kimi to win.
Yeah,
I was like, please, I was looking at them tires going on Kimi's tires. I was like, please, hold on, please, just give him enough, because it was like
they're Pirelli tires, they never hold on.
No, that's it. I'm surprised they lasted that long. But it was like, I'm not a Ferrari fan. I'm not a Hamilton fan, but it was like I just want Kimi to get this. I think Kimi deserves it. People will talk about Leclerc and him losing his seat, and it was like this is his moment to get this win that I think he deserved, because he had the fastest lap on Saturday in qualifying, and it was an immense lap, and I think he deserved it over the weekend, but sadly wasn't to be. Hamilton caught him up. I think obviously a lot of people are saying Hamilton's drive of his life and all that. I don't think it was that good. I think Bottas certainly helped back Raikkonen up to allow Hamilton to catch him up before Bottas pitted. So I think teamwork was major in Hamilton getting the win in the end. But obviously Hamilton had to do the overtake and did just that. So sadly for Kimi, you knew as soon as he got overtaken, that was it. 2 laps after, he was like 5 seconds behind. So he obviously couldn't continue with them tyres. It was just about getting it home. But yeah, I suppose credit to Hamilton. But in the end, we wanted Raikkonen to win, and to see the Italian fans happy, because the amount of boos that Lewis Hamilton got at the end was quite funny. But he always goes, "Oh, the negativity inspired me," and all this. But it was like, they're just I want to see a driver up there stand there, just holding their ear, while they're booing. It's like, yeah, come on, boo some more, boo some more. But yeah, I mean, I suppose credit to Hamilton, but yeah, sort of wanted Raikkonen to get that win.
It was funny because Felipe Massa did the podium interviews. Felipe Massa's great, and he's such a legend in F1. But it was quite nice to see him do the interviews. A Ferrari legend himself, going up to Lewis Hamilton, he said to him as well, "We've raced for many years," including that good old tap on the shoulder saying, "Good race, mate."
Yeah, that was good.
I love that. And then Hamilton giving him the death stare, really. But I just loved it how Massa's trying to talk over the boos. I'm like, Massa deep down's probably enjoying this, saying that's what you get for beating me in 2008. But
yeah, there was a lot of booing going on. I think Massa being up there sort of helped, because he was obviously speaking Italian and trying to get the fans to cheer.
Yeah.
But every time Hamilton spoke, there was a lot of boos going on. And I think
security.
What was amazing at the end is that Bottas didn't even bother. Did you see it? He spoke to de Resta at the bottom.
Yeah.
But when they went up to the podium, he got his trophy, and Massa spoke to Hamilton and he spoke to Raikkonen, but Bottas had gone. So I'm guessing Bottas was like, "Well, I was only third. I ain't getting booed. I'm going. I'm gone. I'll
Bottas
see you
is
later."
like, I'm not even in the championship.
Yeah,
I'm not even
what's the point?
Yeah.
So that was funny that he disappeared. But I think obviously it was great to see Massa back. I haven't seen Formula E back yet, or because he's in there, isn't he?
Yeah, it's happening.
Is it next season? Is it? I think.
I always think
I can never remember Formula
I think
E.
it is September when it starts, or October. But I remember the first ever season of Formula E started around this time, and then it goes on to like June or whatever. I'm not sure.
Anyone in the comments, let us know.
Yeah. In the comments, please let us know. Or we'll
We don't know.
We'll check Google. It's a handy tool, but I can't really be bothered.
No.
Maybe it's because I'm just a die-hard Formula E fan. Sarcasm if you don't know. But Kimi Raikkonen there missing out. Valtteri Bottas third. Sebastian Vettel there. That moment with him and Hamilton at the start of the race changed it all, and he was the one on the unlucky end, you could say. But it was not really. It was no accident, really, was it? It was just. What I'm trying to say is it just
racing
happened.
incident.
Yeah, it's
wasn't
not.
it?
Yeah, for him, he just got the bad straw. So how do you feel? Do you feel for him at all?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were putting a blame on Vettel, to be fair. I think when you look at the replays in slow motion, they're always going to be... it's never the same as full speed, when you look at it and they're slowed down. But if you do look at it, Hamilton is ahead when they go into the corner.
Yeah.
So if you look at it that way, I don't think anyone deserved a penalty, put it like that. I don't think it was anything to do with that. I just think it was a racing incident. But I think Vettel felt he was entitled to it. Hamilton obviously felt he was in front and he was entitled to the corner. And when both drivers are doing that, it's never going to end, especially when that's not really a... expansion on the track. That's a small part of the circuit, so both cars going into there, especially considering they're the wide ones, maybe the 2016 one they might have got away with it, but nowadays they're like a bus, so trying to get two of them in there was never going to work. And obviously Vettel span round. I think if he just maybe lost a bit of his wing or something, he might have been all right to continue, but the fact that he spun round, that must have been really weird for all the other drivers battling, and then suddenly seeing a Ferrari looking their way going, oh shit, what am I going to do? I mean, he did a great recovery drive. Give him that. I think the fans enjoyed that at the Ferrari. Saw him, recovering up that way. But obviously, they wanted him to be on the podium at the front. But it wasn't to be. But I think Max Verstappen's penalty obviously helped him get a couple more points. So it's only 30. And like Vettel said, people are already saying Hamilton's won it. But it's like if Hamilton gets a retirement. It's 20, and he say Hamilton gets a retirement and Vettel wins. That's 25 points.
Yeah.
So,
but Hamilton, because he retired.
We're waiting
Austria.
for a Malaysia engine blowout like a couple of years ago. That's what we're waiting for.
We need that, don't we? Oh no!
Welcome to the anti-Lewis Hamilton podcast.
Oh crap! I. Funny enough, when he retired in Austria this year, that was his first retirement. Since Malaysia 2016, that's nearly 2 years.
Yeah,
that's how good he is, though, isn't he? He's just so consistent, and whether you like him or not, the talent is there, and that's why he is a 4-time world champion.
Yeah, no doubt.
Favourite for the 5th. So it's going to be difficult for Vettel now because he knows it's going to take a lot to change the direction of this championship, and for Hamilton to spoon it, and he may have to rely on it more than once.
I think the only thing that Ferrari have this year that they didn't say last year is that I think their car is much better than last season.
Yeah.
When we come back from the summer break last year,
it's when it went.
They were terrible. I remember Japan. They had that issue with that one little, was it a spark plug or something?
Raikkonen couldn't get it to start.
And then Vettel struggled. I think Vettel only did a few laps on that race, and the car just didn't look as good. And obviously he had that issue at Mexico when Lewis obviously won, but he spun round at the start. Now watching the car, it does look a lot better this year coming back. They've obviously done something with the engine, improved it. So I think in that sense, Vettel's still got a chance. I think Ferrari will obviously still be pushing, but like you said, Hamilton doesn't really have any issues with mechanical or issues with having any accidents. So it's obviously going to be difficult when he's put in that position in a 30-point lead. But again, that's what as fans we're hoping for. We don't want him to win it with like 4 races to go, because that's just boring, isn't it? There's nothing else to play for. So we kind of want something else to happen. Ferrari are supposed to be good at Singapore. Red Bull are supposed to be good at Singapore. If we forget last season, just forget last year. Their car's supposed to be suited to that track more. Red Bull are obviously hoping for that as well. So, let's hope so. Let's hope we don't see Max, Kimi and Seb having a bit of an altercation at the first turn again this year.
Maybe Vettel should clear away.
Vettel should just let them go and then catch him up.
Then catch him up, yeah. But again, not just Vettel, but Ferrari as a whole, it's just, they just seem to screw it up, don't they? Whether we like it or not, it's just Raikkonen could have won yesterday's race, and then all those years of not winning it since 2010 would have been forgotten, and the Ferrari fans would have been a little bit happier. But Ferrari may just have to wait again. It could be another let's try again next year. And I'm starting to worry for them because, it's funny. I never really was that fussed about Ferrari for years as an F1 fan. But I think it's this year and last year where I've started to feel sorry for Ferrari because it's like it's been so long since 2007 when Raikkonen won it, and that was out of nowhere. It was never planned. It's been so long, and you start to get behind them more. I start to realise now how big Ferrari are in F1 and that they've been there since the beginning. So I'm a Ferrari fan now instead of Mercedes. So how do you feel about that when I say that?
I don't think it's unwarranted. I think Ferrari are probably the biggest team in the sport. Without a doubt. And
consistently compared to McLaren, anyway.
I think everyone wants Ferrari to win as much as maybe they're not actually Ferrari fans. They would quite like to see Ferrari, on that top step and win the championship. When you look at the drivers since Schumacher, they've had Massa, they've had Fernando Alonso. I mean, how they didn't win a championship with Fernando Alonso. They've had Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, all these great drivers. It's not like they got poor drivers. They got these really top F1 drivers, but it just hasn't developed into a hasn't developed into a championship winning team recently. I think that they're still in it. Let's not say Hamilton's won it already, but I think that they still have room to improve for next season, and hopefully they will be the main one. I'd like to see next season Ferrari actually jump Mercedes. I think they're kind of level at the minute.
Well, even Hamilton has said that, and Toto Wolff said before Italy, probably mind games, but actually I think yesterday's race proved what they meant. It wasn't false. Is that Ferrari's car is a lot more powerful than Mercedes, so
we'll see how
progress is there.
Well, it just showed how long it took Hamilton to overtake Raikkonen. Raikkonen had 8 lap worst tyres. The rear tyres looked like they could fall apart, but he was still keeping him away, even with Hamilton with DRS. And I'm guessing he had his engine mode up to try and overtake him. But Raikkonen still managed to keep him behind all that time. So Ferrari's engine and Ferrari's car as a whole is certainly improved over the season even. So if they can keep developing it, they could be the main one next season, and that again would be good. See Hamilton actually chasing rather than being at the front would be interesting on a consistent basis. So obviously we know Mercedes have already decided their driving lineup for next season. Ferrari,
not Ocon as their third driver. Yeah?
No. As much as Toto wants 3 cars, I'm not sure it's possible. But they've decided their lineup. Ferrari haven't. But I mentioned in my blog that'll go up tonight, I put that, I felt Kimi was driver of the day yesterday. I know Hamilton, all the journalists put Hamilton, because they said he had the best drive of his life. I don't see that.
I'll give you a nomination in a minute.
Kimi Raikkonen, for me, I felt was driver of the day yesterday. He did everything he could. He pushed them tyres as far as he could go, and in the end, they just didn't give him the last bit that he needed. And I felt he did immense over the weekend. And considering the amount of rumours Leclerc's been getting, to go into that weekend with the Ferrari pressure, the fan pressure, and to do what he did, I just felt it was so good that I was looking at it going, how can you put Leclerc in now?
Yeah.
As much as I would love to see Leclerc in there. How can you put him in when Raikkonen has just done a performance like that? Unless Raikkonen does in the last, 6 races or something? Unless he does a absolute mare in the next 5 or whatever, how can you bring in Leclerc? I know you want to bring in fresh talent, and I wouldn't be against bringing Leclerc in, but Seeing what Raikkonen did under that pressure, it was like
What?
he is there. He is the what is it? He is the buffer, as it were. If Sebastian Vettel has a poor race, Raikkonen normally is in the points somewhere. So
That's it though. Can you imagine F1 without Raikkonen?
well, it's like you can't.
like Fernando Alonso,
The thing is
isn't
losing Alonso and Raikkonen in the same year would just be
Heartbreaking.
for F1.
Yeah.
Because they're two of the biggest. I think they've probably got the two biggest fan bases. As much as Hamilton would like to think he has the biggest,
Did
I think
you hear the Italian crowd?
I think Alonso and Raikkonen fans travel all over the world. So. I think losing them two in the same year would be extremely difficult, and I don't think Raikkonen would go anywhere else. So, as in an F1 team. So,
No. Well, we'll talk about seats
Sauber.
in a bit, but it's in the Ferrari program. I mean,
yeah, we're demoting you to Sauber, Kimi.
with Leclerc. Oh no, not him. Marcus Ericsson, you're up.
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Oh no, sorry, he crashed, didn't he, on Friday? That's what stopped him
was a
from
good
getting.
crash,
It was a good crash, yeah. I mean, I thought the Belgian one was, but that was significant.
Because, I mean, we just want to point out we're glad he's okay.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we're
yeah,
saying
yeah.
in terms of a crash.
That was a great
It
crash.
was a good looking
Yeah,
crash.
I'd give it a good. It
sounds so bad that we're talking about.
I know, but that's F1 fans for you. We love as long as they're fine. That's the main thing. Anyway, bit of a moment there. Max Verstappen. Let's talk about him.
We're getting a lot of beef from Max Verstappen. Especially Connor Porter
Yeah.
is already having a go again. At
I'm
Max
sorry,
Verstappen.
but he is a good driver.
Let's back him up.
Who was it that he was up against?
Bottas.
I mean, I don't know. It looked as though he might have not looked, but maybe it was because he was getting ready to do a corner. I'm not sure.
I think Max had given him the room and then decided, well, if I keep in this motion, I might not make the corner very well. So he kind of turned to the left a little bit to try and get a better eye in. But obviously Bottas was there, and they touched. I think the way they made it look, when Bottas touched and he sort of went in the air a little bit, I think that sort of put more factor into what type of penalty he got.
Yeah.
Because I think if he literally just touched wheels next to each other like that, I think he probably wouldn't have either got a big penalty or any penalty at all. And I think when Bottas went off the runoff, it was like, oh, here comes another penalty. So Verstappen getting it and being told what for was quite funny. I think F1 fans are like, yeah, he's just funny, It's like, and the best bit for me was a lot of people were like, well, why doesn't he just let him pass and keep ahead of Vettel? But on the radio, and he's like, well, I don't want to let him pass. What? He's like, what difference does it make? We're not going to win. I'm not going to win the drivers, and we're not going to win the constructors. So what does a few extra points matter? So he's like, I now don't want to let him pass because of it. And I just found that hilarious. And in the end, he didn't. Bottas was still trying, and I think Bottas in the end went, oh, bugger it, I'll just stay behind him. I don't want to go out. I'm already on the podium.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
You see that pedal drive past? I'm going to be on there.
Yeah. So but I just thought it was hilarious from Verstappen.
But I think, I was talking to Connor last night over WhatsApp about attitude. Connor said his attitude stinks, and I said, no, you see, this is what you don't understand. He's got that attitude of a Michael Schumacher, an Ayrton Senna, which to me, basically, it's all about him. But I know that sounds selfish in itself, but that's what made them the champions they are. They don't look at anybody else as a foe or a friend. They look at them and just think, if this is me.
He's the type of driver that even if he got a blue flag, would struggle to let him past.
Yeah,
Because Alonso did that when he was in McLaren Honda a few years ago, when he was constantly blue flags, and like Vettel and Hamilton would come past, and he was looking. You could see it, thinking, "I don't really want to let him pass. I don't want to let him pass." And in the end, you have to. But I think Verstappen's another one where it's like, if I don't have to let them pass, if I'm not being properly told to let them pass, then I'm not going to, even if it results in a penalty. And I think in the end, if it was down to points, and if he was in the championship, no doubt he would have let him pass because he needs the points. But ultimately, Red Bull are comfortably third, I think, in the constructors.
Yeah,
they're not going to lose that.
No.
And he's nowhere near the drivers. So I can see in his head why he wouldn't let him pass. And I think also, if he had let him past, he would have been on his own little race because Vettel was still a few seconds behind and Bottas would have gone. So I think just to have a bit of fun keeping Bottas behind was what Verstappen was doing. And I don't think his attitude stinks. I just think, like you said, he's sort of a natural winning driver, and he wants to always be as high as he can.
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
he lost 2 places because of it.
Sorry. But it's the fact that he's 20 years old. He's going to be in charge of Red Bull next year, let's be honest. Christian Horner's looking at him as our main driver. And then, he's already won 4 races as a 20-year-old. I just feel like, he's gone from Toro Rosso to Red Bull. The guy is incredibly mature. He crashed into Ricciardo in Azerbaijan, and that could have been like the Vettel Weber we had back in 2010 and all that in Turkey. Instead, they both respected each other, friends as they like. And that to me just says, this guy is a very mature person at his age. And that's what I really like about him. And Charles Leclerc, there's just something about them that if they don't win a world championship, then it's a real shame. That's just how I look at it.
I also think Pierre Gasly's in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Pierre Gasly and Verstappen next season is interesting as well.
I love Gasly because he's got that face of an excited kid in a sweet shop. You can't beat the feeling, can you? He's such a great driver. He's such a lovely chap. 12 months ago, he wasn't even in F1.
Yeah, so to now be going to Red Bull
is
great stuff for Gasly as well. And I think that'll be interesting to see the two of them in that team, because I think as much as Verstappen will be probably the number one, Gasly will certainly give him a good run for his money. And I think both of them in that team are deserving to be fighting for that championship. So that would be interesting to see the two of them next year. I think I'm looking forward to that. As much as Ricciardo leaving is a shame for Red Bull because of all the stuff he's done in the 10 years he's been part of the program, to have Verstappen and Gasly in that team is still exciting for next season.
Now, alert, people. Williams won points yesterday.
Two.
Two.
Or 3, sorry.
3 points.
Oh, my Lord.
Even though, still lapped. Okay, let's not get too carried away. Look, if you actually look, from the moment it's Carlos Sainz 8th, he wasn't lapped. Then it goes to Williams. And, beyond that, that's when any car's been lapped.
That's the joke in itself. Lapped, but still in the points.
Still in the points. Hey. And it was Lance Stroll who got 2 points. And, it's all going well for him now when he's most likely going to get a Force India seat in.
Daddy, look what I can do.
Yeah, Daddy. Yes, I see, son. I'm trying to sort a team's problems out.
Still
right
having
now.
Perez and Ocon.
Yeah. Perez got faster to practice. Why have you not done that, Lance? And Sergei Sorokin, great for him. He got his first point.
First point in F1, yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be, surely for Williams, they're probably going to finish last. Let's be honest. But they needed that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Poor Claire Williams must be having so much stress at work. She probably can finally go home this week and go,
with a smile.
We won 3 points, not in the football, in F1.
Probably more important because
they
struggle. Yeah, they've been struggling all year. So I know that even just to get Stroll in the point yesterday,
Could be his last race for Williams as well.
Yeah, to get him in that, to get that 10th place in that last point was tremendous in itself. But for Grosjean obviously to get disqualified, which we'll probably talk about, and Sergei Sorokin to get in and also get the last points to give him free is vital. Actually, I know it's not going to put them anywhere because, like you said, they're probably going to finish last. But I think for team morale more than anything, to see both drivers in 9th and 10th is important. I still think that, like you said, they're still going to finish last. Hey ho, 3 points, 3 points.
Hey ho. And quickly, just look at the rest of the board. See, Nico Hulkenberg. Well, at least he didn't crash in turn 1 this time, but he missed out on the points this time. Stoffel Van Dorn, let's talk about him because, as we speak, he is now no longer, for the rest of the year he will be, but he will be banished. God, that's a big word, isn't it, for someone like Van Dorn? He will be banished from McLaren for good, as McLaren have announced Lando Norris as his new driver, as his replacement, for next year. Now, we knew this was going to happen, didn't we? I'm sorry, but I watched the practice sessions of Belgium, and he was last for each one.
He finished last in qualifying on
He did,
Saturday,
yeah.
It was like, I know it's rubbish, but come on.
That's
now.
really, excuse me. That's really bad.
Were you using your feet to power the car? What were you doing?
Flintstone feet? Or, because that doesn't work really. That's just a cartoon world stuff. But I feel, I guess in a way, I kind of feel sorry for him. I don't think I can get the statement out in front of us, but basically, Zach Brown's done a statement on the McLaren website, which is basically saying, we wish him a lot of luck, all that rubbish, which basically means, no, you want him gone.
Yes.
Because
It's a nice way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we don't have jobs where we get told publicly to people that we've lost a job. You see, this is the one part of F1 or any sport I couldn't do it, where if you fail, you aren't going to hide from it. It is harsh. It is a harsh world sometimes. But basically, Stoffel Vandoorne has been told he's not going to be driving for McLaren anymore. But it's the statement I don't get by Zak Brown. I love Zak Brown. He's great. His enthusiasm for the team is good for the hard times they've got in front of them. But when Vandoorne is basically getting said that he did a great job, he reminds people he has a great junior career in motorsport, which is why he was part of McLaren in the first place. But it's also the fact that he even says that he had the tools. He didn't have the tools, to, progress with McLaren. As in the car itself could not get him the results they wanted for him and his teammate Fernando Alonso. Now, to me, Jack, that just sounds a bit harsh, because then surely Vandoorne should go, well, keep me then for next year and let's go again. McLaren are now getting known for not even treating their own drivers right, because when I mean their own, I mean their actual own, where Kevin Magnussen went after 1 year, 2 years I think it was. Stoffel Vandoorne's a new one. Lando Norris is going to replace him, who could be seen as like the next Lewis Hamilton, a British driver starting from McLaren and maybe a future world champion. That's how I'm looking at it. Sergio Perez is another driver, had 1 year. Okay, he's not from the McLaren program, but he had 1 year where it wasn't his fault. The car was just dreadful. What is it with McLaren? They've got a reputation for it all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the statement they've put out is obviously nicey, but at the end of the day, you are firing a driver.
Yeah,
there's no other way of putting it. You are getting, and I can see why they're getting rid of him. Vandoorne was given this sort of this position. Sorry, when Jenson Button left. And they said, here are Vandoorne, we're giving you this opportunity. And I know the car's been rubbish. We're McLaren fans, me and you. We know it's rubbish.
Yeah.
This year has been a little bit better, but it's rubbish. We know it's never going to be difficult. We never know it's going to be tough to get in the points. But Fernando is around there. He's in and around that area. He has got a few points this season, and I know Vandoorne has got the odd one, but when you're finishing at the back, you're qualifying at the back, and to me, what summed it up before they obviously announced this today was when they obviously tested Norris in Belgium, which they do every now and then. They put their development driver, but when they put him in this weekend as well. They put him in, was it practice 1? I don't know if they did it in practice 2, but Norris was in practice 1.
They did it on Friday, yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, oh, he's in for a second week in a row. Now, that means something. Every now and then they put them in, but they don't always put them in, from week to week. And they put him in again, and it was like, okay, this is interesting. They've get rid of Vandoorne again. It'll be interesting to see what he does. And again, he did pretty decent, Norris. So ultimately, I saw that, and then I saw Vandoorne qualified 20th. Again, not sure how that was possible.
20.
Yeah, sorry, Vandoorne, but that was atrocious. And he didn't even finish. Where did he finish in the race?
Oh, what, this one?
Yeah, Vandoorne 13th or something.
I think you say that when I've just got rid of the standings.
No, I think it was something like 13th. Because there was a few retirements.
It was 12th.
Oh, that was close. So yeah, I mean, again, he didn't get in the points. And I could just see it coming. I know one of our friends, you said the other day, Harry Wright, was saying about Vandoorne and how he is a talent, and I don't disagree with that, but I just think know the car's been rubbish, but he hasn't been getting the most out of a rubbish car like to an extent Alonso has. So you can see why they've made that decision, but I also ultimately think Zak Brown should have just said, we're letting you go, in that statement. Just say, we're letting you go and we're bringing Norris in. But yeah, to say nicey, even though you're getting rid of a driver.
I didn't agree with that.
We know what's going on.
No.
But yeah, credit, good luck to Vandoorne. I hope he stays in F1. There's talk of him going to Toro Rosso. There's talk of him going to Sauber. Because we don't know.
Which one's realistic, though? Because I feel as though Toro Rosso...
I think Sauber's more realistic.
It's not like Red Bull to bring in an outsider, though, is it?
No, I think Sauber's more realistic. Depends on whether Leclerc goes. It depends on whether they keep Ericsson.
Both
them drivers are sort of open at the minute.
I think Ericsson's been good this year, though.
I think since they've been talking about him, he's been better.
Yeah, but I feel as though with Ericsson, he's just been a good team player. Where him and Leclerc got on with it. He's got some points. Leclerc got some points, and that's been good for Sauber. But I feel as maybe on paper Van Dorn is a better driver than Ericsson because of how they've been brought up in motorsport, but I just feel as though with Sauber, if they can keep both of them, they'd probably think, well, we're happy with these two, thanks. Try Williams. Lance Stroll might be going to...
Yeah.
But again, we want Kubica there,
Yeah, we want Kubica there.
Yeah, we want Kubica there.
Yeah, so it's still open in the market to see where Van Dorn's going to go. I hope he does stay, and I hope he does better, because I think he is a better driver than what has been shown this year.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but again, obviously, like I said to Jamie off air before we started this, having a young Spaniard and a rookie British driver at McLaren, exciting times. Let's hope the car's better for both Sainz and Norris next season. I mean, again, I say it every year, it can't be any worse. So come on, McLaren, do something, because that Renault engine is not terrible. So it must be down to you. But let's hope Norris has a better year than Van Dorn did.
I think it's funny as well because Lando Norris was talked about by Zach Brown 2 days ago, and Zach Brown said 2 days ago he's ready for F1 and the McLaren contender. You just feel like when Zach Brown, who is in charge of recruitment of the drivers,
and then he went. Well, I mean, Stoffel's still there. He's still in the running. Like, he said Ocon and Perez before Van Dorn. So that was like Perez and Ocon were higher than Van Dorn on the list. And it was like, oh, no. Van Dorn's out.
We'll talk about a bit of gossip. Well, let's talk about some of the things that happened over the weekend as well. Kevin Magnussen and Fernando Alonso. Now, Kevin Magnussen and Alonso had a moment. Was it in qualifying? I think it was, where they clashed.
Last run.
And Alonso was about to get ready for his first one, wasn't he? Last run. But then Magnussen came out afterwards in the interviews and said that Alonso thinks he is God. And obviously Kevin Magnussen says he can't wait until he retires, which is, of course, at the end of the season. Is that just Magnussen being a little bit over the top, or because him and Alonso have never seen eye to eye anyway?
Well, the thing is Magnussen doesn't make many friends in F1.
No.
Hulkenberg doesn't like him. Alonso obviously doesn't like him. He's not really he's a sort of, if you don't like me, I don't care, Kevin Magnussen, I think.
Yeah.
And I think both of them were going in for that last lap. Both of them were supposed to be on a hot lap. And Alonso obviously got better speed from behind Magnussen on the pit straight, and Alonso thought he could get past him in the turn, and obviously both of them decided not to give up, and both of them almost went into the gravel together, which I thought was quite funny. But I mean, Magnussen saying he's a god and he can't wait for him to retire, I think is a little bit petty. I think he obviously Alonso has done a lot in F1 and obviously won 2 world championships, so. I think he was obviously just being a bit petty afterwards, but I think Alonso. I think he's right in sometimes thinking Alonso does think he's God, because I think most drivers have to believe in themselves.
You've got to, haven't you?
Yeah. So I think him saying that is quite funny, because I think Kevin Magnussen inside himself also thinks he's God, because you've sort of got to have that self-confidence.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love it even if his dad just told him from the outside, well, you're not. No offense.
Come on, Kev.
Yeah, this is an honest world, not a dream world.
Oh, dear. But yeah, I mean, that's just a bit of fun, I think, at the end of the day. I mean, Alonso isn't going to care. Alonso chuckled. Did you hear him when he said it?
Yeah.
He's like, watch out for Magnussen. He's went, huh.
Brilliant. Oh, you gotta love him. I think that's it really for the Italian Grand Prix.
Well, just got to mention Grosjean, that he got disqualified, didn't he?
I can't believe that. When was that? When he was the last man probably to get disqualified after 2012 Belgium Grand Prix.
I mean, he got Renault actually put the protest in to say that they felt there was, I don't know how Renault found out, but they were like, Renault lodged a complaint saying that they felt like Haas had an issue with their floor, or they felt they were cheating, and they sent it to the FIA, and the FIA went, well, yeah, you're right.
You just see like Charlie Whiting and all that just sitting in the office like, I can't really be bothered today. If you send me those emails in the future, that'd be great. Saves me from having to have a look,
Oh, you're right, Renault. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
To be fair, Grosjean literally, he must have. It felt like getting slapped, I reckon, because he's done all them laps, just finished 6th. He's like, yes, good points for the team. It's like, nope, disqualified. It must be really annoying because he's had a tough year as Grosjean. So to get 6th place was pretty good for him, but to then go no. And to be fair, that must have it was a good job they didn't do that after the race, like straight after, because it's a Ferrari engine in the back of that Haas.
It is, yes.
So that would have annoyed the fans even more. It's like, yes, at least another Ferrari got. Oh wait, what?
Oh no! Remember when Toro Rosso won in Italy with an Italian car? That was with Vettel when he was not even a world champion.
When he was a baby.
Baby phase. Oh, how times have changed. One word to describe this weekend's race.
I think exciting, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as much as
Well, it wasn't going to be worse than Belgium Grand Prix, was it?
That was a bit boring, that, if I described it in one word. But I think exciting, not in terms of the championship, but in terms of actually enjoying the race. Because I think there was something going on in all the laps, whether it was Raikkonen and Hamilton chasing each other, or Verstappen deciding not to bother letting Bottas past, and all that sort of thing. I mean, not even turn 1, Brendan Hartley's out of the race. Poor Brendan.
That radio just yeah, I'm out. It's just the way he hits like one of the cars on the left, then there's another hit. It's like, I'm out.
Do you know what would be funny?
He needed a mic drop, didn't he?
I know what wouldn't have happened, but what would have been funnier is if he could manage to have got out the car while the car was still trundling to a hole. So he gets out, and the Toro Rosso with no wheels still going. It would have been like, oh yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. And on that note, we're out here on the Pole Position podcast. Thanks to Jack Price, as always. And of course, we'll try and do as many of these as we can. Singapore is next in 2 weeks' time, and we'll do our best to
probably be Abu Dhabi.
Probably Abu Dhabi next year on December 1st. Anyway, we'll be back next time on the Pole Position podcast. Thank you for listening.